Habt ihr euch das gekauft?
Time is running!
And as someone living in the Czech Republic, so we are now live there. You may have caught us jumping a bit early for Germany versus the Czech Republic. I'm John Doherty. I'm not currently joined in the booth by my co-commentator yet, as he was just on the last game and is recovering from it. But here we have the Czech Republic versus Germany in a women's pool match.
Commentators, you can start commentating. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. So I'll start again, yeah?
You can start. We're live now, commentators.
Okay, and we're here in the women's pool bracket, Germany versus the Czech Republic. I believe we've just had the first score from the Czech Republic. They held their offensive point, and I'm being joined here by my co-commentator who has sprinted across fields to make it here on time. So
yeah, it turns out when you don't update your time zone on a laptop, it can screw you. So thank you for Helen, the media manager for the EYUF, for reminding me that I said I'd leave the media tent doing my furious research. But hey ho, we're here, it's fine.
I was looking forward to another solo commentary. It means I can just keep talking to myself, but better to have someone here who has a bit more experience in these situations than me. So
well, we try our best, of course, for Germany women. They're looking to get a big victory here if they can against this very well-tooled Czech team. Of course, last time around at the EYUC level, it was a bronze medal finish for the Czech Republic. That's a nice float into space, hotly contested, but just reading underneath, but a lack of focus, very unfortunate miss there.
Yeah, maybe the receiver needed to start a warm-up an hour earlier as well. Maybe they didn't reset their clocks, but the defender did enough pressure there, caused the jump. Offensive player read it well, just unable to hold on to it. Czechs getting their first chance of a break here now.
Nice threat on the inside channel. A couple of these Czechia players coming across from U24 experience, as well as returners from that bronze medal outfit. Last time at bat, of course, Czech Republic not appearing in the women's division at the Junior Championships Worlds last year. Nice find through. Can they finish it off? They do. This time, Nina Bolschweisler keeps the eyes on the prize all the way into the first goal for Germany.
Yes, second time of asking, gets the score done. And just to fill people in who maybe don't know about the previous results of these teams, the Czech Republic have already played 2 games. Yesterday they beat, I believe it was Austria 15-6, and today they've already played GB Women and they beat them 15-9. So they're 2 wins, 1 loss. Germany yesterday, they had a pretty tough result against a very strong Italian team. They lost 15-4. And then today they had their second game against the Austrians in what was, to me, seemed like a pretty critical game. It actually went down to universe and Austria were able to win that. So Germany kind of in a bit of a not a very tricky situation, but if they could get a win here, it makes their chances of staying in the tournament alive very possible. If they fail to win here, it might just come down to the game between them and GB Women potentially, unless there's like a 3-way tie with Austria. So losing by 1 point in their last game is maybe best case scenario for what would be considered a bad result. But it's still all to play for, and a win here, you never know. Czechs can be inconsistent sometimes, so if a strong German start here, this could be a very interesting game, and maybe not as one-sided as the scores in the previous games in this division have suggested.
Well, it is juniors, Doc. Anything can happen, that is for sure. So, of course, that centre anchor. Trnava in the 36 puts up an absolute rocket to the end zone, but it's going to be a slap away on the defence. There is an opportunity under those, though. I'm sure the coaches are all thinking in unison, catch your D's.
Yeah, a couple of aggressive players here on the Czech side. Their first score was actually a hook deep inside the first couple of passes, so I guess they went for it again this time. Defence read it a bit better.
So this a threat for the Germans to take a breakaway and get an early lead here. Nagel sends it through. Spirit captain with the disc, Kiran. Nice upline find. Osman turns around. Like the trust between the handlers, but not the highest amount of connectivity. Goes for the inside scoop shot and does so. But no one's there to provide the backup. The disc goes astray and the Czechs have it back. Nice swinging through. Stanislavova doesn't like the look of anything upfield. And the upline delivers neither. One of three Czechova siblings on the team, but a stall out being signalled quite determinedly by Braun.
Yeah, I think I've seen lots of teams that have had like maybe twins or maybe a brother and a sister or two brother or whatever, but I'm not sure if it's the first time I've seen one where it's three, no twins, just three on the same team. So strong frisbee household there in Pribram. I'm not sure if their father was one of the people who started their club or if he's just heavily involved, but he still plays, so they're all taken after their father. So shout out to him for doing good work for Czech Ultimate and securing some future generations of high level players, obviously, if they're making this team. So something good in the water there.
That's a nice find. Can she keep it inbounds? Oh, well, players on the field are calling it good. I thought I saw one of those cleats go out of bounds, Doc, but it's going to be a goal and a break for Germany.
Yeah, I think she had the left foot down first. That might have just kept it in anyway, so no questions from the Czechs. And yeah, break to start. Well, not to start for the Germans, but first blood. And like I said, I think the Czechs, in my opinion, are coming into this as like what I would consider. It's hard. Maybe it's harder to know after the last game with Italy and Belgium, where I thought maybe Belgium were going to be a clear like top 3 team. I think it's maybe now it's more about Belgium and the Czech Republic. But the Germans here again, if they can get a good result here, it can kind of throw the bottom 5 spots of this 7-team tournament kind of wide open. If those teams have any close games, it might come down to how they played against other teams, and if some of those other teams maybe they're getting blowouts earlier in the tournament, and they might maybe ease up later in the pool stage, knowing they don't need to win by as much, and we could get some weird results if there's any 3-way ties. Nice to have some unpredictability potentially from what I felt was maybe arguably going to be the most straightforward division to predict. So here's hoping there can be some surprises, although maybe not in this one, as I'm living in the Czech Republic, so I'm slightly biased in this game.
It's all right, you're a consummate professional, Doc. So, short field opportunity for the Czechs to pounce jump. And of course, once again, Trnava, spirit captain, and that 36. Reading to Marshall, happy to take the negative yards against a German zone, which is pretty active on the cup. Trying to get the Czechs to move it laterally. Of course, they love that small ball. Trnava, though, puts up an absolute shot into the end zone, but it's tracked down and taken away by the waiting hands. Wearing the number 5, Britta Bachinder.
Foul call there. Not sure. It did. I was surprised. It did look like the Czech player actually got her hand to the disc. I was pretty surprised seeing that running down. So perhaps she felt she might have actually had it. I thought it was going to be an easy block for the German player, but it did look like the Czech player might have had a chance. But can't really tell from here, to be honest. But leave the players figure it out. as you can see, the over-exaggerated reenactment of what happened. Hands
Always
got
like to
slapped down, despite hands never possibly dropping below the shoulders. But
Well, Doležalova is a pretty tall athlete, 180 centimetres full stature, which makes her one of the tallest players on this Czech side for sure.
yeah, and one of the most reliable receivers on the Czech team as well. And it's contested. I think potentially it's fair. And if I had looked away at the last second, I would have thought it was going to be a definite turnover. But I do think the Czech player maybe got her hand there. So sometimes you could argue contest might be the right result. It's not definitely a foul, but if you think you had it, you're entitled to make those calls. So I'm sure the right outcome will happen here anyway. So if it's a turnover, we know who was right.
Well, I'm sure the Bashinger family will be screaming at their streaming setup, being like, no, that was definitely a D, but we'll roll back the tape and play on. Trnava with the inside, but that one is just slipping like an eel out of the hands of the receiver.
There we go. We got our answer. Maybe it was a D.
People say the discs don't lie, Doc. I think that's incorrect. The disc is a big liar. It always tells lies. But that is not very sweet, unlike the Fleetwood Mac song, just fleets away.
I think the disc reacts to how the fans want it to react, rather than what the truth might be.
So once more until the charge. This time it's Trnava on the end of it instead, and the Czech Republic hold.
Yeah, one of their spirit captains and possibly our final year playing. It feels like some of these Czech players, when I moved to the Czech Republic about 4 years ago, I remember thinking some of these players were pretty good and they were all in the junior team, and now I see some of them still here, and now I look at the ages and see some of them still have some more years. I guess I didn't realize how young some of them were when I first came over here. So that's why when I initially saw the team list here, I thought the Czech Republic maybe a team that could cause an upset. They've only had the games so far. They haven't played necessarily the big teams yet, so I'd be very interested to see how one of those games goes, because I thought, looking on paper, there's just so much experience in this team, but then seeing the Italians earlier and the experience they have, and even the Belgians' experience, it's hard to know if experience is actually worth that much anymore, because everyone kind of seems to have it now.
I don't know, it's two Masters eligible players in the booth. I think experience counts for some things, but actually just being able to go out and execute, even if you know what you should do, you know, if you don't have the ability to make the plays, then knowledge is not everything. But both teams full of athletes in very fine fettle indeed. Of course, on the German side of things, unsurprising to see plenty of representation from not only the Berlin and Munich teams that have been pulling out big club efforts over the last couple of years, but plenty of Pizza Volante Leipzig players. Always nice to see them representing at the junior stage.
Is that the pizza team? I saw a lot of pizza names in the. It's like, oh yeah, interesting club names. That means they're going to probably have good energy about them anyway. Pizza Volante. I don't know if that means something in German, does it? Volante?
I mean, I think Volante, it must be something to do with flying, right? Osman, big backhand. And that is a very nice track down from Kiran. Driti, Kiran with the dish fake. A little bit of a collision and a stumble. A win of the sky battle, but there's going to be a stoppage on the field as the Czech player gets back to her feet.
Yeah, some good receptions there by the German players. Good patience on the sideline, and then it was a slightly floaty disc, but the player held position really well, holds it. Now they got the disc here in a much better position. I imagine the disc is going to stay where it is here.
Good hat. Looking for an option. Eyes glued to the reset and a button hook around the back. Rosenbaum sends it into the end zone, and that's another on the board. This time it's Osman with the goal.
Yeah, good patience there and getting the job done. And it's funny, in the last game I remember saying if we could potentially get a second scoreboard just so we could be sure, and now I see they've actually taken away our first one, so I'm trusting your paperwork beside me here is the right score, that it's 3-2 to the Germans.
Yeah, I'm valiantly doing everything in a paper-based system. It's just obviously a bit of a drawback on some of the budgets this year. But it's all good. We have the skills, counting turnovers, breaks, trying our best. But of course, Germany at the moment find themselves one to the better of the Czech Republic. doing a great job.
And I think for the Germans, that earlier game against Austria, losing on Universe, it's going to help them, you'd imagine, have a slightly better start here, because they obviously had such an intense game in the last game, and you'd imagine when it's close near the end, you're putting on maybe your more star players a bit extra to try and get that win near the end. So I imagine if fatigue isn't a problem, I imagine the top German players are probably really ready to hit the ground running in this game, and so is their D-line at the start. They've got that break, and like we said, hopefully if the Germans can maybe, from a neutral's point of view, I would say that they would be hoping that the Germans could get a little bit of a lead here, and then we get what potentially could be a very tight game down the finishing stretch.
So after a flawless offensive conversion for Germany women, they now send out a D-line. Bit better distance on the pole this time. And Czechia will go to work very quickly. Shukova sends it through. Oh, that big inside nearly scuttles away. Now into the poles of Hadova. Oh, the flash into the end zone. The dive is there, but unfortunately comes up empty-handed. Zaneta Kadyrova.
Just a bit overthrown there. Slight wind blowing slightly from left to right might have pushed that disc down a tiny bit. Germans getting a chance here for a break, and if they could get one here, it becomes very interesting.
Bit of bracketing from the Czech defence, but they managed to clear it out and find through to Backinger. No call, just a straight up hand block for Julie Hotička, and goes quickly to the end zone to punch in the goal. So all level at 3 apiece.
Yeah, bookends there. I'm not sure if maybe it slipped out of the player's hand. I wasn't sure, but yeah, you call it bookends. And looking at it now, she's only 15, and that was one of the players. Like 2 years ago, I think I tried to organise a small little group of players that weren't playing with 3SB women or East Bloc in the European scene. I tried to just get a collection of young players who I thought maybe in future they could go on things, and she was actually one of them there, and that was 2 years ago, so she was highly rated then. So good to see that she's still only 15. It really is crazy. In the last game as well, just how young the players are. I'm used to when I was playing or coaching at junior level, all the players they're either 18 or 19, because you just couldn't get players that were much younger who had the talent. But now it's really a case of if you're playing long enough, that just trumps the natural size and potential athletic advantage that you get by having someone maybe 3 years older. And it's good to see that there's going to be a lot more continuity in the in many of these teams, where it's not like every 2 years it's a completely new cycle of players. There's players, I've seen players that are on rosters at this tournament that are 13. I thought you had to be 14 to even play at this event. So seeing players that are 13, it's kind of crazy to think what they'll be like in 6 more years of playing at this level if they get to stick in the junior divisions.
Well, it's becoming a bit more, normative sport vibes. That is what you expect to see in mature sporting programs, is, youth athletes coming through the U20s, U24 divisions, and kind of hitting the peak of their career in those early 20s, late teen stages. My mind goes back to the Lionesses' recent work with their 19-year-old coming on later stages in the game and doing really big bits indeed. That's a nice bit of vision, and the deep has to respect the players further down. Rosenbaum with the swing, keeping things nice and simple. Osman again. A little bit of track down required, but a nice swipe on the far side for Goodhart. And Lotte Osman, again, Germany making the zone work very hard by being expansive with their throws. And a slicey dicey forehand, a little bit of knees required to do it too. But Jonja Braun with the goal.
Yeah, good confidence there by Osman. Happy to throw a blade. One of the captains on this team throwing blades there, showing she's not worried about these conditions. And I think she got into the sport because her older brother has played it and plenty of experience, obviously, as someone who's one of the captains here, and I think she says she has some family here watching some games, so good to see a captain. I call that a captain's throw, you know. Maybe certain players on the team don't get away with throwing blades at European Championships outdoors in the wind with the face side of the disc going towards the wind, but yeah, a nice one for her to throw there, and I think it was another player with the goal.
It was indeed.
Her mother has been playing, and the goal scorer Brown, was it Brown?
Brown,
my
yeah.
pronunciation.
Tonya Brown.
Yeah, so I think she says her mother. She says she's been playing since looks like '98. So you know, before all these players even existed.
I mean, since '98. Yeah, we've existed since then.
Yeah.
We were out and
were
alive.
around then. I think she said her mother's still playing in the Masters divisions. So shout out there that maybe they have some opportunities in the future to maybe. I'm sure they've maybe already played on the same lines together. So.
Well, of course, the famed family from Germany that we often talk about is the Hermekings, where the mother and daughters playing alongside each other. So I'm sure that is indeed the case. We see the flashes of pink as Trnava looks to try and control this offense for Czechia.
The wind's starting to pick up now, yeah, and blow straight towards us. So.
Indeed, well, that favours the look of the zone, but it's now switches to match, and they quickly look to get it moving. Not too many players in front of the disc, so EYUC Fast will have to wait and abide. Gonna have to perhaps throw something spicy. She does indeed unleash the cork. Oh, and underneath it, Osman, captain to captain, on a high stall and over the line for another break for the Germans.
Yeah, no need to throw a blade that time. She had her teammate wide open. It was Broom with the goal, and another player who's got some history of knowing about the sport. Maybe before it was her under-17s men's coach was her school teacher. So again, just reminds me in Ireland of up in Gonzaga, where you get a lot of great players coming through just because one person in a school is teaching it, and you can be surprised how much of an effect it had. I can't remember the team. It might have been Windhosen potentially that she was playing with, but I think I saw them recently at a tournament in Rising High in the Netherlands. So again, more youth players playing for a long time. Lots of international experience as well. She's played on multiple teams, and I think she actually coaches an under-11s team. So that actually exists. Under-11 ultimate teams apparently exist now.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any under-10s, but I've gone through the player notes. I've seen under 14s, under 11s. All this is like.
Well, it's just a case of, I think, one of the things that actually is really attractive about playing Ultimate is just it's a really easy sport to pick up, despite the travel costs that we all incur once we get to the stage. You know, if you're just playing locally, domestic competition, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you said, it's pretty easy. It's like the equivalent of soccer. So you just need a ball and somewhere to play. All you need here is one person, or maybe something, or even a strong wind sometimes can just bring the disc back to you. So.
Millhouse vibes for sure. And of course it's a lovely spirit of the game, camaraderie, to see the disc landing out of bounds, so it will be a bricked pole and an immediate throw out of the blocks. A little bit of a softer match. Oh, just shy of getting the block into the hands of Dolojalova. Can she do anything with it? Looking around, oh, that one whiffs really high, pack underneath it, but it's brought home into safety by Jana Jalushka. A captain rising high.
Yeah, I think she started playing it she's playing with Pisek. Shout out to, I always butchered the Czech name, so Peter Hatt, who's coaches a number of the players on this team in Pisek. A lot of really promising young players, and again, just another one of those who I just feel like when I came here a few years ago, Czech Republic a few years ago, she was already on the national teams, and she's still here. And to be captain of one of the captains of your junior team at 16 shows a lot of promise and a lot of leadership, that you're trusted in that role, despite a lot of other players probably a couple of years older than you. And apparently she's a mermaid. That's her. One thing that had to be pointed out is I'm a mermaid. So if someone's going to just make that point, we got to point it out. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd also love the basically the credit of Magdalena Slechova with I am speed.
speed.
So watch out for that number 29 in the white jersey. Of course, Team Germany going through a new kit iteration. They've had quite a few. Very jazzy looks over the years. I love the size of the numbers. That's my favourite aspect of the German kit. As we get another big pull out of Trnava. Quickly fielded by the Germans. Doesn't like the look of Fuss. No fuss, just in through to Osman. Brumi. Then through. Looking to try and reset. Boom. Getting that high release backhand. Osman doesn't like the look of it. Going to have to track it down. Oh, and just tips off the fingers of Fuss. You could see what she was trying to do with the double coverage, but again, Czech women having a little bit of difficulty on some low difficulty catches. Perhaps some nerves having suffered those breaks, but Widmeyer, easy backhand posted through the letterbox, and it's another hold for the Germans. This time, and not quite so clean though.
Yeah, turn there, but getting the job done at the moment, maintaining that. I think it's maintaining the 2-point lead. Are they? Or yeah, again, trust in your notes. Thankful for them, but yeah, Czech had a couple of players from their O-line, or I'm not entirely sure if they're doing O-line, D-line, but they had one or two players that they brought across there. They did get the turn, but gave it straight back to them, and Ballschweiler with the goal. Is that how I pronounce it? Again, apologies to all the parents watching who are like, this man is just butchering our family's name. But
oh, Ballschweiler, yeah.
So.
All good. You just got to have the confidence, Doc. Just say it with confidence.
Yeah, I think she's playing with TC Taucher this year, so I'm sure she's full of confidence if she's a junior playing on that team. So expect to hear a bit more of that name if in the coming seasons. I think she wanted to give a shout out to her boyfriend as well, so there's your shout out, sir.
Indeed, I'm sure many fans of Women's Ultimate watching this one. So, Czech Republic looking to notch one more on the board. Just trying to keep that back toe down, having set the pivot. But of course, it's classic to see Czech women playing that run and gun style, immediately trying to follow their pass through, keeping the disc moving and changing the angle of the attack always. Shekova, pinned on the sideline, finds the way through. And lovely flow towards the break side. Doležalová now. That big pivot uses the full range. It bounces up though and is taken down by who else? It's Sutri Kieran.
Yeah, someone they don't want to test. She's been on the receiving end both on offense and defense now, having a big game so far.
Unfortunately, the Germans throw it away on the first pass. So back in control are the Czechs. Oblakova pops it back. Oh, spicy inside. Again, it tips off the fingers. Can it be redeemed? No. A valiant effort to make up the distance, but didn't quite have it.
Yeah, just throwing a bit too much zip there. I actually think she might be, I've seen her recently, she might actually be one of the strongest players on this team, maybe even in the Czech Republic from the few times I've seen her play. A very, very powerful thrower. And obviously, as a member of the family, she's plenty of experience. So when you combine those two things, you're going to have one of the main players on the team. So maybe just a bit too aggressive that time. But
again, great match defense being played by the Czech women when Germany start their possession. Coming through on the underneath. Bulo looking for an option. Again, both teams really riding the rails on the inside shot. That's going to have way too much gas under it, though. Easy pickings. Do not test Alena Delajalova in the deep space. Even though she's got a great match for height. But a short field now gifted to the Germans. Inside, sails way too far, and again, can't be redeemed.
Yeah, another chance to get a break there. I think this one could be a pretty critical one. If they could get this one, I think it would start to put a lot of pressure on the Czechs mentally. I think the Czechs, maybe looking at previous results, I wouldn't say they would have been overly confident coming into this game, but I think they would have been expecting that if they played well, they would be able to get the win, and not going their way so far, and the Germans don't look like they're going to start giving it back to them that easily either. So
big ripper of a backhand from Shekova, going to sail too far, and you can see from the body language Alena Delajalova is a little bit gassed out there.
Yeah, doing work on both sides of the field. That's one of the harder things about guarding cutters when you're a deep cutter yourself. You usually are the person who has to do the most running, while the handlers just stand in the middle of the field and throw it to the end zones. As the disc like ping pongs around past them. That's why it's always easier if you're a good cutter to try and just guard a handler. You get a bit of an easy job then on defense.
Lots of contact underneath that disc. So we are getting a discussion.
Yeah, I think to the letter of the law you'd say there's a foul, but I think it's going to get probably retracted, I think. But again, maybe a bit letter of the law if you have to land on the player's foot after D'ing it. I think that's what the call is. Potentially maybe the German player had it first, but it looked like the Czech player got there first, and whether the follow-through contact is something she's happy to accept might be it.
Well, it's Izzy Kirsten, one of the spirit captains for Germany, involved in the collision.
Yeah,
So we're going to get some extra perspective and perhaps some translation skills.
Yeah, for me it's one, whatever outcome they come to here is fine. It's always fine whatever outcome players agree on, but I think in this one it actually could just go any of three ways, and they would all be technically fine decisions.
Well, accepted foul is the resolution we are going to have, accepted by Klára Šeková. I don't think we've had a point with all three Šekova sisters on just yet. Maybe towards the latter stages of the game, see if we can get some sibling connections to rely on. Oh, but that's swiped out of the air again. Delajalova winning the dispatch for Czech Republic, and they're going to take a timeout, Doc.
Yeah, captain decides, I'm taking this time out here. I might be young, but I know this is a spot where we can't keep playing like this and throwing away these discs. So again, Germans had a couple of chances there to get a break that would have put them into a really good position, but Czechs here now going to have a chance to bring it in, have a quick little talk, refocus maybe. It's a bit of a messy point, and you don't want to see that from your O-line when you're already down. So Czechs here going to probably want to get a nice easy score. Germans going to feel like if they can stop them here, it really puts the momentum in their favour. If they take a 3-point lead, I'd start to favour. I think if it's 3 points, I think we go to universe. I think if the Germans can get a 4-point lead, I'm not sure the Czechs can pull that one back.
So both teams in the huddle. Of course, we are reaching the latter stages of the afternoon. Local time, 3 minutes past 3. I say now, having updated my smartwatch to the local time.
It's funny because I did see your computer earlier on the wrong time, and I was like, well, I think we were actually on the stream when I noticed it. So I was like, there's no point saying this. I was like, I don't think it's not probably going to be too much of a factor, like, you know. turns out. So we can take I'll take the blame for that one. But yeah, just for anyone who's not familiar with how the women's divisions work, and there's 7 teams, and the top 2 go straight through to semis. If you come 7th in the group, you are eliminated, and then essentially what you could call quarterfinals. There's 2 quarterfinals for the 3 to 6th seeded teams. And at the moment, it's very hard to predict which team is going to be the one that's going to be in that 7th place game, because the only game that's happened between what on seeding was maybe the bottom 3 teams coming into the event. The only game that's happened has been a Universe Point one, so doesn't really mean too much.
Things getting very watchable in the women's division is what you're telling me, Doc, because
Yeah,
that is what people want.
Potentially, yes. The right games are already watchable. There's been a couple of big results in all the divisions. I think maybe the organisers realised it was better to get us to start on a Tuesday, because there wasn't too many games that were very close on the Monday. I believe it was actually the 3rd round of games, but before the losing team actually scored 8 points in a game on the opening day. But there was a couple of good games, but today much better. So,
well, also you get teams warming up into it. Of course, we saw some very, as you say, very large scoreline deficits yesterday, and teams playing very differently today. Although that one, a pretty easy goal to be punched in by the Czechs, and that's very meaningful. 8 turnovers total that point, Doc.
Yeah, I think that one maybe a bit of a piece egg connection potentially at the front of the end zone. I think it was 2 of them there, so they're probably used to playing with each other. And like I said, that was it's an important one for the Czechs to get, to kind of keep the game close and not to really put any mental pressure on themselves. I feel for the Germans, if it kind of stays close, you imagine they start to feel a slight bit of pressure given the kind of more slightly difficult situation they're in. But obviously, even the game being close, it's going to be a confidence boost, because yesterday they had a bit of a rough day in 1 or 2 of their games, and to have a tough loss today it's very easy to get demoralised. So coming up against the team that already comfortably beat a team that you lost to today and giving them a game, it's a good sign, and taking the lead, and again in a good position here to push on in the next couple of points, potentially take half.
Our volunteer scorekeepers keeping time as well here at EYUC. Of course, we're massively thankful to have such a large volunteer staff keeping cool here in the sun in Trnava. Again, person defense being played by the Czech women. Osman on the far sideline. Lotta sends it through. The Czech looking to try and squeeze them, and Osman again going up line. Going to send it through. Same third huck. Will it pay off? Oh, just about again. It's a real misfortune for the Czech defence. They're so close on so many of these, but that one was none but Britta Baschinger for the goal.
Yeah, she did a good job there. She had a slight height advantage, but it was very easy to go up there too early and missed it, but she timed it well to get it a good height, 2 hands on the disc. And again, every time the Germans slot in one of these, it gives them another chance to get the next break back on the board and potentially put the Czechs under pressure. Baschinger playing 6 years there, so in the mid stages of the experience levels on this German team, there's just looking at one of the players, 12 years. Is that the most? So she's only playing half as long as some of her teammates, despite playing 6 years, which is about a third of her life. So really is crazy. And
I mean, that's the joys of, many of course, the longer established ultimate athletes we've got at this EYUC are indeed the children of players of old. I mean, as you've already mentioned, some of them still representing their nations up in the Masters echelons. My favourite division of all is Legends, which is when they've run out of greats to put in front of Masters. Now, of course, that division only happens in the USA at the moment. Just goes to show the longevity some people will be willing to put their bodies through this pretty intense sport. So we get a first look at some, well, not a first look, sorry. We have seen the German zone before, and it has indeed gotten breaks. So this to try and slow the pace of the game down even further. Just putting some cotton wool around the dynamo handler set of the Czechs. They find that one nicely through though, making the most of every drop of juice with the quick disc movement after the jailbreak. The scream of match from the sideline as Germany try and put on some defence. They find their way around, and a picturesque grab just to end it. Elena Dolajalova with the goal.
yeah, I think the pictures speak for itself there. Once they got through that, just no stopping them. Great flow. It looked like they always knew where their next cut was coming, and Germans maybe not going to want to try that zone again. But like you said, to get a turn already is maybe just that first pass gets through it, and it's hard to recover when a team moves it that quickly. I know often the thing maybe in juniors is sometimes the team gets through the first layer of the zone, but they don't have the experience to keep going. But again, no such thing when you're talking about the top teams in the divisions anymore. They all have the experience now.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of the times that people will talk about how to break down zones, and certainly when the Czechs have put a zone on against the Germans, they've been throwing over it, making the disc do the hard work. Whereas actually that one was really interesting because you'd expect Doležalova to really try and keep the deeps busy when that jailbreak happens, try and be the big threat she deservedly is. But actually there was a lot of connectivity once they put that first break through the cup, and actually just kept moving, using the kind of adaptation to the travel rule very, very well. But still no breaks for the Czech D-line. Germany sitting proud by 2, as that one will give them a brick to begin with.
Wind is picking up again now, still blowing straight towards us, so not going to give either team an advantage unless it's just pure skill advantage.
Yeah, that's not us breathing into the mics giving you an ASMR, that's our field mic picking up the local wind conditions. But still pretty easy for the firepower we've seen so far. As the Czechs trying to pin on the far sideline. Oh, that's going to be a great track down layout clap catch. That's not easy to execute without getting ground stripped. As the Czech open side with the noisemakers trying to make it rain on the far sideline.
I often wonder with so much noise like that, do you actually think it helps your defense to drown out your own team's communication? I often think you should do it when the other team is on, when you're on offense, to drown out the upshouts and drown out the no around.
Nice track down. Very tight set at the front of that zone. Oh, that's going to bop on but be recovered. Fortune favouring the brave Bashinger, getting a little bit of luck for extra measure. But held on to it for quite some time, so the Czech zone is able to continue to apply pressure. Oh, that's going to sail way too far though. No one to redeem it this time. Osman immediately going to charge to match up with Trnava and stop the easy break. That one taken very nicely. The little flash of pink as she flies away and receives the disc straight back does Trnava. Nice single-handed grab. Shaplova. Oh, again with the great hands for such a tall athlete, picking up by her ankles. That one, again, a lot of bounce underneath it. Trnava claims and sends another to the break side over the shoulder. Dishes don't care. Zhirakova with the goal, and that's a big break for the tally for the Czechs.
With the left-handed grab there, keeping that one alive in front of the end zone. I'm pretty sure she's right-handed, so that is not an easy catch for the tallest player. And then I guess they just about got the disc swinging around and slotted in, and that's the Czechs' first break now. So now we're going to see how the Germans can react to it. It's a sevens, so pretty. Again, if it gets it takes half, so
it's Galaxy Point.
Yeah. You'd imagine both teams here happy to consider putting out a power line. Don't believe anyone bothered calling a timeout, but this is it. You got your 5-minute rest after this. Just put out your best 7 and go for it.
Yeah, this is a real buy one, get one free opportunity if the Germans can hold it, of course, because they'll be starting the second half on offense. But that can be nullified if the Czech side can snaffle another break here. I suspect, John, we're going to see another use of zone.
I'm trying to see all the players on the line. It does look like mustard. It does look like, I would say, a power line. I don't know if it's the power line, but maybe a specialized defense. But we'll see. Looks zoney. Yeah, you called it. Zone again.
Well, of course, we just saw the Germans struggle against it. Throws over the top. Nice shape. Just about escapes the hands of the defence. Hagel puts that one out. It's going to curve all the way away though, never the right edge on the disc.
Yeah, the wind just took it away there. Everything about it kind of made it difficult for the receiver. And I think even the matchup itself, if it had gone where they wanted, there's probably no one the Czechs would rather have under the disc there than that defender that was putting on the pressure. So,
well, it is a power line because that's Doležalova who has been picking up the crumbs on offense. Kind of does it all really, and Harovat to get us started. So a power D line for the Czechs to try and level things. They will, of course, need to get the one extra break.
Back on serve, so if they can get this one.
So a meaningful point, and that big sideline. We did have the German Open team providing support to their female counterparts at the beginning of the game, but they've obviously had to go off for duty elsewhere. That one's going to be way too far though, unfortunate. Polakova with eyes for Hadova, and you can see both teams really having to work hard in the midsection.
Not an easy throw to get that backhand off.
So Germany just need to be patient. There's always someone open with this zone, which is relatively passive. They move it nicely around to Osman. Big soft shoulder. Germans doing a great job of splitting the deep of Doležalova. Interesting there not to see the stall reset from Hadova after a lot of contact with Gordonhart. But that's a nice find through. This time she thinks better of it, does Nachel, having ripped it before. Then Osman has the hammer open, exploits it, and that is a beautiful way to break a zone over the top. And it will indeed be that break taken through to the second half for Germany.
That's how you take half. Hammers slightly into the wind, no fear. Throws blades, throws the hammers. Deserved first half for the Germans. They've been very good, and again, I think this is a big one for them to go in. The Czechs are going to have a couple of minutes now to regroup and rethink. But right now the Germans feeling like they're in a good place. And yesterday in the Open Division, these two teams, nations, had their universe point game. So I guess the viewers at home will be hoping we can have the same in this half, or same in the second half.
Indeed, close games are far more watchable for the neutral viewer, which we purport to be here in the booth.
Extremely neutral.
But there does seem to be a player leaving the field. Klara Shakova just taking a little bit of a break. Hopefully she'll return, because of course this second half will be very, very hot indeed.
lot of energy coming from the German side there as they look to take on and have a strong second half here after taking half against the Czechs by 1 break.
Indeed, it was all about holding that nerve in the Galaxy point situation. And they will start the second stanza on offense. So if they can punch that in, they will continue the charge. Of course, it was the first point on the board that went to the Czech women, who have acquired a very feisty sideline in the form of their open team, as well as plenty of coaches. Of course, it's not very far to get to Slovakia from Czechia.
Yeah, it's not too far, although I left my house at 5 a.m. and I didn't get here until about, I didn't get here till about 3. So it was longer travel than you imagine to get here by public transport. I had to, I had a bit of a disadvantage. I had to get to Prague first, which is actually kind of slightly in the opposite direction of where I am from here. But
if you were driving directly, if you had your own car,
yeah, maybe 3-4 hours, which I guess in Ireland that would be considered. I'm not doing that, but in Europe that's a pretty good trip if you're staying for an international tournament. You take that.
Yeah, it's a commutable distance if you fancy taking the day off work and going and supporting your country folk playing some frisbee.
Yeah, especially if you're living more on the east side, you could get here in probably less than an hour, maybe even. So I'm sure maybe even some parents even going home in the evenings and coming back each day potentially. Although it's a nice little place, so I'd recommend people if they're ever coming here or nearby and they have that option, maybe have a look around the place. It's a nice little place. I'm not really one for exploring, but I had to take my trip to some fast food yesterday, so nice little walk, rivers and.
Indeed, and of course we've got the scenic views of some of the industrial buildings going on. Of course, not the most modern of buildings, so they still look pretty cool. I believe the big chimney behind the field here is actually from a sugar refinery. So can the Germans turn up the heat against this Czech side to see the sweet taste of victory? Again, the Czechs playing the zone. Nice high grab. Dominate. Sends it back. We've got a slightly different look, but of course Osman still on the pitch alongside Magga. There's 3 set at the back, but that's going to have way too much vim on it and is taken away.
And a lot of experience here on this Czech line. A couple of players who seem to be playing O-line are out here as well, so maybe they sense it's important to get this break back as early as they can.
Absolutely, they will still be trailing the Germans, who are in the lead by 1. Inside through once again, Dolajalova staying on the pitch. Has a swing around easily to Shekova. Nice find through. Up line, it curves, it's going to be in bounds. Oh, that's a massive effort on the defense, but cannot deny Alena Shekova with the goal.
Yeah, great grab in the corner, great pressure by the defense as well. They really made her work for that one, and right in front of the camera I thought maybe if she got any nearer to the back of the end zone she might have dropped it, but Czechs there, like I said, a bit of extra experience on that D line, and not necessarily a D line. A lot of players I think are playing on the O line, and they played like there, and not the start the Germans would have wanted. They would have liked to maybe last a bit longer before giving back that break, but because they got the one in the first half, they still technically not on serve, but you could argue they're on serve in this half to starting now if they can hold on their 0 points.
Yeah, it is a great equaliser, that half-time change of ends. Still remember the early days of playing in the late noughties, early 2010s. That wasn't always the case at tournaments.
Yeah, I'm playing since they used to have games to 17 at these things. So.
Indeed. Of course, our soft cap will be 15 if you're not familiar with the formats of these tournaments. So, and of course, when time expires, it will be add 1 to the highest current score and play to that as your new tally. So you do have the opportunity for historic comebacks. Although sometimes the next division to play on the surface tends to get a little bit testy and say, you know, we've warmed up for a certain time. But of course, watching this one, we don't care 1 iota.
I'd say a bit more of a normal Czech D line here. I don't think it's maybe as much of a power line as last time, so not sure what their system for rotation is, but
well, I think they're keeping a couple of the stars of the O-line out. We do see Trnava, who I believe has played the majority of points in the game, which makes sense. Of course, was on that U20 team that got 6th in Spain. Nice give-go action on the far sideline. Now looking to try and bring it back. Little travel call. The 2 options available for resets. Just got to put something high, but it's snaffled. Needs a little bit more edge on that. You can't just throw over the top of the likes of Stanislava. Now Trnava. This is a big moment for the Czechs as they cruise smoothly. Oh, that's full on just running with the disc, I think, but great interruption defense from Kiran. There's being wise with the new travel rules, and then there's a little bit of getting carried away. But the Czechs unglue themselves, becoming a little bit clustered on this near sideline. They find their way through with the break, though. Madge all the way across. Nice high hands for Wagner. They don't try and go all the way with it. Nice and patient, as that noise really does get ever louder from the far sideline. Sky ball taken down. Madge puts it through. Oh my goodness, that's got way too much on it though. 2 potential receivers, and unfortunately Nagel overthrows them both.
well,
Bit trigger happy.
I think the thing I enjoyed most in this point was I had to lean in to hear you because of the volume coming from the far sideline. So if anyone was in doubt, we have a game on now, and the players are going to start to feel it. The sideline energy is really good. I believe there's a full German sideline, full Czech sideline. I don't think either of those teams are on in the next round, so potentially going to be here for the rest of this game. And
Well, we did see the open team have to leave for some reason, but I think it's the parents that have arrived for Germany on the far sideline, almost being inspired by the Czechs. Trnava looking around for an option, squeaks it up line through to Jalushka, who's going to open it up. Again, both teams really loving just squeezing it through the sidelines. Now's a bit of an opportunity, but it's not grasped in the end zone. There is the layout, but unfortunately, Klečova unable to collect.
Wind has slightly changed, I think now maybe a little bit from left to right, so favouring the Germans in this point, but not strong enough that it's a big difference. But if the players aren't aware that it's slightly changed, they might not have calibrated their throws yet. So,
Well, that one didn't look perfectly executed, but Kiran getting some creativity on the go. The Germans finding their swings, but perhaps a little bit hesitant on the trots, allowing the Czechs to apply the trap. There is indeed that one over the top. You can hit it with a hammer or with that lovely soft blade. Kiran is going to go for it into the end zone, and that one just sneaks in past the defence. Jalushka was there, but unfortunately cannot prevent it. And it's a German hold after a lot of big effort from the Czechs.
yeah, good read there by the offensive receiver to hold on to that. I think the defender maybe just needs a bit more of an upshout from her teammates. I think she was maybe a little bit too worried looking at where the offensive player was going, and in the end, when she turned around, she realised she'd maybe run too far towards the defender. So it's the importance of a sideline telling you to look for the disc. I think if she had a look there, the Czechs get a turnover. Instead, they end up on the receiving end, and now they gotta start all over again to try and get that break back.
Well, it's interesting here, Doc, for the line management for the Germans. I think Osman did have a break and a breather in that last point, but they've had 4 offensive points on the trot, has this German side. Of course, they've scored half of those. So a couple of players pulling some extra duty.
Yeah, I think they just have to go for it in this game based on how the results have gone so far. And worst case scenario is it doesn't work out and they still have another chance to try and get maybe a couple of points victory against GB to avoid that 7th place spot. But not entirely sure how it will play out if they were to beat the Czechs, but potentially if they were to beat them, it would put them into a really good spot if they would assume that the Czechs would maybe get a more comfortable victory against whoever they would play in a potential three-way tie. So might be in some degrees you could argue a bit of a season on the line moment for the Germans here in this game, with the backup to try and have another opportunity tomorrow or whenever they're playing GB.
Indeed. Well, it does force the team currently at the bottom of the standings to have to get a win to their name. Of course, it's never fun to come to a youth championship and not get a single one on the board, but that one is lovely high grab. Big sky. Who else but Dolajalova? Now, can she find the option? No, takes the reset instead and heads back to the stack. Just drifting on the soft side of the field. An easy target. Nice hands for Shekova. Grind towards the line. Oh, it's a bit of creativity over the top for the find. And into Vashova.
Yeah, that initial grab by was really nice. Big grab. And then aggressive throw to the back corner. Looked more risky than it was, but thrown really well. And yeah, we're back here and again with the Czechs still looking for this break. So they're going to have to get the break sooner or later. I don't think they want to rely on trying to go for it right near the end. So both these teams coaches are probably trying to manage timeouts and when they decide they want to go for it, and should you use your timeout now and think about what you're going to call, or just call it and call a timeout after if you realize they're tired or you got it wrong. So expect some timeouts soon, I'd imagine. Or maybe they've already had that talk at halftime, realizing the situation, and they're already going for it. And
Well, I think we have had one timeout taken so far in the game, if my memory serves, Doc, and that was taken by the Czechs. I could be misremembering.
it would make sense. I don't think the Germans have had a situation in the game so far where they'd have wanted to slow down the momentum of the game, and perhaps both teams, maybe they think their team is fitter. They also won't want to use timeouts to give that other team a chance to have a break. Sometimes you play tournaments with short rosters. The best thing you can do is call a timeout immediately after the other team calls one to get that double rest. And maybe the Czechs would rather avoid that situation if they feel the Germans have already started putting on their power lines. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, not sure about that one. And it's going to go straight into the bread box of Trnava. Well, there is the break, much needed for the Czech Republic, and they take the lead once more for the first time since the Germans broke to take it 2-1.
Very non-PG celebrations going on there a moment ago. So, but yeah, Czechs needed that one, and now their pressure's back on the Germans. Or Czechs might potentially go for big line here and try and put on another one, and then really dishearten the German line here. It's still only a 1-point game. It's very easy to get it back for the Germans. So if I was a Czech team thinking of a timeout, this might be the time I might have considered going for it. But
well, this is a really difficult mental for the Germans to face now, because it's not that the Czechs are really taking the disc away from them with amazing athletic inhuman bids, although we are seeing a couple of those on their offense. My mind goes back to that amazing grab by Dolajalova, but it's about them not choosing necessarily the safest options. There have been a couple of moments where they've thrown into options that they think are fine, and then suddenly they're, oh no, there was a Czech player right there, or it's bounced a little bit too high in the breeze. The wind conditions have dropped again, but the Czechs really finding a lot of love with the zone. So we see it once more. If it's working, why change it? But that's a nice one on the up line from Dietrich. Why take it back? That's not Dietrich. That's Brumi. Skyball easy for Osman, though, in plenty of acreage. Lotta Osman unleashes that one. They swing it all the way across the bank to Fass. Osman is still there. I like this spacing for her. That's a nice one through. Surely a tempting target on the far side in that number 15, but it's the soft hammer instead that unlocks the door to the end zone and into the hands of Jukka Fass.
yeah, another overhead assist for her. I think she's had more of those than probably nearly every other player on the field combined at this tournament so far. And it's just one of those things when you're struggling sometimes. If you're a confident overhead thrower, you can just find the gaps that aren't there, that other players aren't capable of getting in. A couple of very easy scores she's after getting her assists near the end zone just by having those overhead throws. So if she can keep those going, then it just needs her D-line to get one break. And in general, like I said, there hasn't been that many breaks in the game. It might have just been a bit of a lapse, a couple of moments of with less focus for the Germans that get the Czechs back into, but it's still only the one break needed.
Well, Lotte Osman is going to be staying out on the pitch for the D-line. On the coaching side for the Czechs, we have no Halava, so I think they're keeping her in the pocket for the D at this stage in the game. And we also don't have a look of Dalajalova. She's on the sidelines resting, that number 73. So a different iteration, but some synchronized signaling for Ready, Doc.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I take it back. There is Hanova in the little flashes of pink undershorts. Little split set play, trying to attack that centre pocket. Hanova runs and guns. Thinks about the shot into the deep space, but has the underneath. It's overcooked, though, and will be snaffled up by Kiran. This is the opportunity that Germany women really need to try and take back control. Even though I hate that Brexit slogan.
They do have a couple of their O-line players on, like you said, so they're in a good position here.
Meichner waiting for something to develop. It's all quiet upfield. That taken away by great dogged defense. Nothing that Kirsten can do. So back in the hands of Shekova. In fact, that's two Shekovas on the pitch. Zalushka now. Loving that sideline action. Fires through. This time it connects on the target. Kaderova throws, unfortunately, down to the ground. I think that one is going to indeed be a turnover, signalled by Harova. But a valiant effort with the bid nonetheless.
Yeah, I think the pressure is a little bit more on the Czechs now. I feel if you don't want to be the team in the lead here, knowing that one break is so crucial. So Germans probably in a better situation mentally right now.
Oh, that is a beaut of a scoop inside. It sets up the momentum. That's going to be a difficult one to track down, and indeed it will fly out of bounds. The Germans getting a little bit too hasty trying to throw the same third huck.
Yeah, that first inside break was really nice. I think the next player just wanted to try and match it, and that is the receiver. I think they do want to be throwing it too deep if they're going to have a receiver. That's the one they want. Just a very slight breeze making it a bit harder, and I think it ended up out of bounds anyway. But Czechs here in a tough position, essentially kind of a bit of a coffin corner. Not super windy, but not an easy place to come in front of your end zone on the sideline here.
Well, it starts with that inside break. Going for the slicer. Hanova pops in. Oh, nice bit of gambling going on with this travelator style. It is not a travel, thanks to that adjustment and the rules. Hanova with the redemption collection. Shekova seeking something. Squeezes it through, but it's the hands of Osman ready to collect. Germany women need to push through with their legs, make their lives that little bit easier. Braun through to Osman, who is running the show here. Thinks about the inside. Tired is not a word that exists in Lotte Osman's vocabulary, that is for certain. Again, delivering reliably is the Postal Service. Oh, that one sails over cleanly, but cannot be reeled in by Kirsten. And so another turnover in this marathon point. 6 total, 3 apiece. This is the offensive possession once again for the Czechs. But the collection underneath, that's a proper block for Braun. patiently waits. Osman with the pounce. Doesn't like the look of the up line. We've seen so many of those hammers, but they're going to have to find a little bit more connectivity before they do. Kirsten. Back to Osman. Flirts with the inside, thinks about the around, then back to the inside. This is great person defense being played by the Czech women. Oh, but it just slips out of the bread box. Meshner unable to collect. Another wasted opportunity for the D-line, and the Czechs are going to call a timeout.
Yeah, just a tiny bit of pressure just by being close there, I think helps generate the drop by Czechova. But again, you gotta feels like this could be the one that decides it a bit. I feel like there's only so many points left, only so much time left. In general, the offense has been relatively clean by both teams. They're not giving away a ton of break opportunities. It is only one break each, or is it 2 breaks each? Two breaks apiece. Stage, so not too many breaks being given away. It feels like every one of them at this stage is crucial. So we saw last time after a timeout the Czechs scored in one pass, although that was right in front of the end zone, so it was a bit easier. But we'll see. Both teams realize this is, again, like I said, it's not season-ending result for either of these teams. But if the Germans are able to get the win here in a close game, there's going to be some sort of a three-way tie, almost certainly, that comes out of this, and it could be to decide who comes bottom, or it could be to decide who comes third potentially. So it's, as much as it seems like the three-way tie is usually it'll be between these, it's basically the only team it probably won't affect is the top 1 or 2 teams in the tournament, and everyone else is very likely to get drawn into some kind of crazy results here if the Germans can get the job done here.
Well, still plenty of time left to go before this one closes. Our volunteer timekeepers with the whistles signalling that it's time to get this one back underway. Both teams with a bit of a rest. And 8 turnovers total so far. So disc will resume in the hands of Dominika Chadova.
8 turnovers total, is it? Or that's the kind of turnovers per game that would have won you a European Championship a few seasons ago.
Well, 4 apiece. The Germany D-line hoping to make it 5 for the Czech women, but they are finding much more open space on this offensive possession. You can see that little bit of hesitation. Great block off and hand the defense. They're going to just run it and gun it, and it just about makes it. That's a great high stall throw, and it's backed up. Over the line goes Chadova, and you can see the demoralization of the German D-line.
Yeah, especially with those head spike celebrations, you know. Another one. Seems every time she scores, it's a pretty critical one. Yeah, like we said, that's a bit of a killer for the Germans there. But again, still essentially the kind of way we were from the first half, on serve essentially from the first half. So not out of it yet. They've already, like we said, they've gotten their 2 breaks already. So they just need to get 2 more by the end of the game. And I imagine they will get their chances. But I feel if the Czechs can get one here, it might cancel out. It might cancel out those chances. So I think if the Germans are going to do it, I think they need to slot this one in and then get the next one. Otherwise, I think the Czechs are going to manage to hold on here.
Well, a great backup by Jana Stolova, because that was very impressive handler coverage, Doc.
Yeah, and then a nice grab in front of the end zone to catch that hook. They're not easy ones when you're reaching out for them, and left-handed catches seems all the difficult catches in this game for the Czechs have been with their left hands. So those are the margins. Sometimes just being able to make those catches with your weaker hand can be the reason. It's essentially kept 2 of their 0 points as scores rather than turnovers that could have led to breaks. So
good depth on the pull. And we've got another look at a poachy person coverage, almost zone, but sort of not quite. But who else at the back of it? Doležalova trying to turn the game over quite quickly and put themselves in front by 2. This is nice rapid movement. Kristova being pinned at a high stall, and that just slips out of the fingers. Great team pressure from the German D-line. Trying to drift up line, but it's going to have to be pretty precise throws with the way this defense is working. That one is going to leave a lot to be desired, and the easiest D that you're going to get, but it's a lack of focus. Things becoming a little too casual. Bulow provides the easy reset, but they find the thread of the needle through, and that's a nice one, followed up to Backinger. Germany happy to throw it to Widmeyer for negative yardage, just to relieve some pressure. Nadamani, oh, that's going to be quite squirrely, but just caught on the back hip. What a hold on for Germany. Josie Bulow with the goal.
Yeah, I thought they were just going to throw another pass to the Czech player just standing deep in the zone, but this time the wind helps them out over their head. Good focus by the 2 offensive players to not end up leaving it for each other and getting a drop. But much needed one for the Germans. Like I said, I think if the Czechs got that, I think it might have been potentially kind of an almost game over situation for them. And now the Germans are going to get another chance to get the break here, and not much time left. There isn't too many opportunities left to get these breaks. So Germans are going to get a chance here, and really feels like I feel like there's going to be another break in this game, and it just depends which team is going to get it. Not sure we're going to see 2.
So it's confirmed with our scorekeepers, 13 minutes left of this game. So just to let you know how long we have left to play through, and we're at 11 apiece. Massive thanks to our wonderful volunteers, keeping the tournament smoothly running and looking very dashing in the force jerseys.
Yeah, volunteers doing great work. Everything, even the updates on the scoreboard, everything being done nice and quick at this tournament. You like to see it.
Indeed, keeping you flush with all the results and stats, of course, with their little tablets. You can head over to the EYUC website for all of the current game schedule ongoing. But we'll focus our attention on the one in front of us, as the German sideline full of proud parents tries to G up. You can see real vim and energy, and a great find on the far sideline. Zuzana Shekova with the goal off Kristova's hands.
Yeah, and every one of these just takes a massive amount of pressure off them going forward. Now it's up to the Germans to have to reply to keep themselves in the game, and that one was really clean. And if they can keep it going like that, it's going to be very hard to see the Germans get the turnover and convert the break. The wind has died down now as well, so it makes it even harder for a team to potentially get the turns, as the zones aren't going to be reliable now. It might just be a case of, can we just get right up in their faces, as they say, and try and generate some pressure turns. I think if you offered the Germans universe point now starting on defense, they might take it, that extra bit of pressure.
Well, we nudge ever closer to a potential maximum scoreline of 15. Of course, we will play first to 15, or if time expires before then, because that was a very rapid point. We gave you the update of 13 minutes before that one started. I'm pretty sure we're still in double digits on the clock. So,
great pull.
Absolutely, that one's going to sink very slowly.
Looks like a bit of a power line here from the Czechs, trying to get this break here and maybe seal this game, potentially take a timeout if it doesn't work out, rest their O-line.
And we're back to the traditional zone set that we saw before. You cannot throw those when she's in the zone, and it's backing up Doležalova again, using every centimetre of the 180 of the stature. And now going for that fast-paced movement are the Czechs. Oh, it's just one punch after another, but that pops out like a tart of breakfast in the morning. Goodness gracious.
We were just getting ready to say, and I think that could be the game, and just not able to hold on to it. She's been catching everything on defense, unable to hold on to that one in the end zone though. But heart and mouth stuff for the Germans there.
Well, they're going to have to be aggressive with the throws. They've got a pack of athletes on this near sideline. Brumet looking to try and move things swiftly. The softest of fakes from Fuss. Nice one around to Osman. Of course, it's difficult to be loading up those D lines for Germany when your stars are having to go out and make sure that your holds are being punched in. They do have a tasty looking target in the form of Bolschweiler. Oh, but that's going to be a dicey one indeed. A high stall, frustration throw. Now can the Czechs find the focus all the way? Hanover full stretch. Through. Oh, that looks very easy, but it's not going to be in bounds to the end zone. So at least one more throw required to unlock the door. Hanover with the tippy toes, and that's another break for the Czechs.
Yeah, and I think I feel like that's about as close to a game as I feel it's going to be. It's very hard to see the Germans coming back now and managing to get 2 breaks here. Killer as well. You can see that they're even walking back to the line as only 1 or 2 of their players running. Their captain of the team potentially getting them going. Osman just trying to get them going there, just realizing, hey, just because they got their break, you still got to put in the last score in this game, and that's one of the best things about Ultimate is comebacks are always possible. So they've gotten the 2 breaks now. They need to do a little bit. They need to get 2 more, is it, to hold their roll here and get two more breaks. It's a tough ask. They've only gotten 2 so far, so they need to get 2 more now by the end in the last couple of points. But I've seen it happen to a Czech team yesterday in the men's division, so the Czech part of me, will we say now, hoping it doesn't happen. I only say Czech part now because I had to apply for my residence recently, so decide if they're going to let me stay in the country or not.
Well, I don't know. Rahel said you're a keeper, I guess. So maybe. I mean, I'm a neutral viewer. I just want this game to be as great as it possibly can be. Although I've realised I'm actually wearing Terrible Monkey shorts right now. But we assure you, folks, we are as neutral in the booth as is possible to be.
Yeah, I'm okay with Universe Point and German starting on defense. So called it a while ago. I said they'd be okay with it too. So.
Well, that is a beautiful throw to start off the offensive possession. You can see the red cheeks of Lotte Osman. That one's not come out the hand though the way it should, and it's going to be snaffled up by Doležalova.
That must be about easily the 6th or 7th one of those that's just been thrown to her, and she's just caught it with one hand.
Yeah, Deeps have to do a much better job of distracting and pulling her to one side. That is a beaut of a backhand to Hanover, and that is 14-11. Another break on the bounce for the Czechs. I have to say, this is not the same Germany team that started the game, Doc.
Yeah, I think a bit of it as well. Just sometimes you just get that feeling there's a certain score in the game where it kind of puts it a bit to bed, and I think maybe it was that last point just would make you so downhearted, and they've just been throwing it to the deep the entire time. Every single throw is just, it's not even being a disc they could have caught. It's almost like they think the Czech deep is just wearing a German jersey. It's a bit unfortunate that's first of all the throw they've been forced into throwing, but also just that they just couldn't get it to anywhere else. It was just so easy for the defense on every one of those catches. It's not even a 50-50, and I think that's the thing that might frustrate them the most. It's fine to get stuck in a tough spot and to have to throw bailout throw, but you can't just throw them to the only place on the field where you don't have a single player on your team.
Well, it's interesting because those over the shoulder of the zone throws had been working and providing the money in the bank at the beginning of the game, but it is just the fact that at the moment Doležalova isn't really being pushed one way or the other on the pitch. She's staying actually very disciplined and central, so when there's any kind of loft and shape, and no one's going to try and contest her, she is, I do believe, of the players that have given us their stats, she is the tallest out amongst them. course, you can nullify a tour with massive ups and the ability to read the disc better than your opponent, but Germany find themselves pushed against the wall here as Osman will field that brick pull. So Carlotta Osman starting off this possession. And again, we see the zone. Again, we see Dolojalova sitting in that deep space, not having to do much in the way of running around. This is nice swinging and movement. Madge alongside Bolschweiler, sorry. Just trying to keep that deep split and busy. This is much better discipline. Madge now through to Fuss. Oh, in the area. Nice hanger for Osman. Dishes through. Davani. Oh, and vision towards the back line, but that's going to be way too big. Britta Bachinder, great positioning, but nothing she could do about that one.
Yeah, I guess the one positive of that is at least it wasn't straight to a Czech player like the last couple, so they've overcome that part. And if you're going to turn over, putting the other team into their own end zone, making them play the length of the field isn't the worst place. So Germans still alive, but Czechs here with a chance to just make it somewhat more comfortable than I would have thought was going to be likely a while ago. And seen a lot of emotions on the Czech sideline during this game from multiple players, so maybe stresses and tensions running high in the team. And
well, as you say, they came into this game with a big expectation of taking the win. At the moment, have done everything they need to put themselves in a brilliant position, but will they be able to complete the course? Swinging around to Shekova. Of course, that number 10 is Susanna. Still rising. And that one's going to whiff away and be taken by the defense. Bolschweiler. Bolschweiler. Setting vision. Madge will complete through. Osman, quick run and gun. Now Brume. Back to Osman. They just need to keep the nerve and patience and just sink this one home. Brume through, and that will punch one back on the scoreboard after the run of 3 for the Czechs.
Yeah, and now the Germans just need to finish this game with a run of 3 themselves, and they can take this one. And they're going to need more breaks for the rest of this game than they've had in the entire game so far, but like you've said a few times, juniors don't rule anything out. And this wouldn't even be close to it wouldn't even be in the top 100 comebacks, I'd say, at EYUCs over the years. Seen teams come back from 9-10 points down on more than one occasion, so just because it's a tall ask, they're definitely going to be capable of it. It's whether the Czechs can just got to convert 1 out of their 3 chances. So
well, match point 1 of 3 available for the Czech offense. And I think we've got a true offensive line to start us off, Doc.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be a true offensive line till the end of the game if it's what it takes. So.
Oh, I don't know. I think you probably pull Dolojalova to get your redemption Ds off if this first point ends up being a break in favour of Germany.
I trust the leadership behind there. They know their stuff. I've spoken to 1 or 2 of them twice. Very, very aware of all these things. So I don't expect the Czechs are going to make mistakes with their line calling or any potential timeouts from this point out. So,
well, that is a miss for Kaderova, who has been so consistent throughout the rest of this game. So a massive opportunity to try and steal momentum back for the Germans. Doesn't like the look of that one. Nice grab. Klosenbaum seeking an option. Oh, and that's got a lot of wobble on it, and it's interrupted by the defense. Kaderova makes up for the miss. Oh, sorry, that's Vashova, sorry. 24, not 25. Vashova sends it into space. Oh, that's beautiful. Hanova, of course, with the speed to collect it, and then sends it into the end zone. The Czechs with the win, 15-12.
Yeah, really strong finish by them there. Great hook then. We have a flick on the sideline, just puts the receiver out into space. Deserved win by the Czechs in the end. It looked like they were going to struggle a bit in the first half, but also got to give credit to the Germans to come out and have a game like this after what would have obviously been a very tough loss in the last game. And I think now that game kind of makes things, in my eyes, it makes the shape of the rest of this pool a bit clearer, where you have the Austrians, GB, and the Germans are going to be kind of deciding who's going to get that 7th spot. I think I would say Italian and France are most likely the teams that are going to probably progress, and then it's going to be a very interesting game when we get to see the Czechs v the Belgians, because they've both had results that look amazing, and then they've both had results that maybe were a bit worse than I might have expected. So that's definitely one of the games I'm looking most forward to in the rest of the women's pool games, at least, is the Czech-Belgian game and the games to avoid getting KO'd by the Germany have to play GB, and GB also have to play Austria, I believe. So
Indeed. Well, those will be 2 games for the Brits fans to keep their eyes upon. Of course, at the moment, it is Germany and Great Britain are the only winless women's teams here at EYUC. It does happen, but of course, it's just about being knocked out of the chance at a crossover back into semi-finals. They will still get to play out the rest of the tournament. It's not like knockout challenges you get in tennis and such, but we've been pleased to bring you this one. What a show of nerves at the end of things for the Czech women with that brilliant comeback, and of course a lot of sideline support to do it. Massive thanks to all their fans. But don't go anywhere, folks. We will continue the rest of today's coverage, and we'll see you for that on the other side.